Joe, let me know about Forge LAN. Tell us about Forge LAN.
Yeah, so Forge LAN was what we called it when it was just a LAN party. It was, I was going through a time of actually discovering what in the world a LAN party even is. Maybe some of you people listening have no idea what a LAN party is. And LAN stands for Local Area Network. And with games, like I mentioned, like Unreal Tournament 99, the only way to play together was to actually be on the same physical network for a lot of those early games. There were ways to connect over like dial-up modems and things like that later, but for the most part, if you wanted to play with a bunch of people at the same time, everyone had to get in the same room. Everyone had to get on the same network and play that game together on the same network. And so a LAN just stands for local area network. It just means a network that is localized to one spot. And so that's what a LAN party is. It's saying, hey, we're going to jump onto the same network and play games together. So I was discovering what LAN parties even were, and there was a couple LAN parties that I had hit, namely the guys from LAN Ohio. There's a couple folks that still come to Forge events that were from LAN Ohio, from DOS LAN. There was some folks at DOS LAN. There's QuakeCon. There was LAN OC. There was a bunch of LANs that existed when I was first getting started. But one of the ones that I remember most specifically was a LAN called Agro LAN. And the reason I remember this one was because I went there by myself, not knowing anybody. So I'm like, okay, so this is like going against all my childhood safety training of saying, I'm going to go to a stranger's house and hang out in their basement most of the day, not knowing anyone, and there's going to be a bunch of people there that I don't know. So I was like, okay, well, here's the address. If you don't hear from me by tomorrow, I guess we'll see you later.
Yeah, what could go
But
wrong, you know?
so yeah, what could go wrong? Yeah, what could go wrong? But honestly, like some of the folks that I met there, some of the coolest and kindest people that I have ever played games with, like and very inviting and very welcoming, and just what a unique environment because as you contrast that with what we've got today, a lot of times you just get insta salt when you're playing games online with other people, and it
Yeah.
was completely opposite when I actually went in and played at a LAN party with other gamers. And so Agro LAN was really that first LAN where I met a lot of folks that I still game with today, and it was really very cool. And in that moment, there was there was really a sort of line in the sand moment where there was one particular pastor that was speaking at our church one weekend, and he had mentioned he was talking about our design and how we as humans are designed and how we are built as humans and how we have natural proclivities to be talented or excellent at certain things, and we're all built in different ways, which is truly wonderful. And part of what we talked through as a part of that was he made the illustration of, if God built you as a tractor, you're going to look very, very silly on the racetrack, maybe next to a BMW. But you take that same BMW and you put it in the middle of a cornfield, trying to pull 500 pounds worth of gear to till Earth, you're also going to look pretty stupid. So his point was, we're all designed in different ways, and we all have different strengths and abilities that God has gifted us with. And why aren't we using those abilities? Why aren't we, for the BMW on the racetrack, why aren't we going at full tilt and saying, hey, we're racetrack, or we're saying, hey, we're meant to be tilling Earth material? And it's kind of a just a polarized example. In the case of saying a tractor versus a BMW, there's a far greater spectrum of capability than those two examples. But at the same time, it really made me think about, why am I not using my skills and my strengths and things that I enjoy for the kingdom purpose? And so as a Christian, that's something that we're called to do. And that is what sort of birthed the passion for Forge Land 1. It was for my friends that I had met that are, not folks that go to church, don't necessarily have a desire to go to church, or don't have a desire to understand or have conversations around spiritual things. And I was like, man, my heart is just breaking for these people. And
Yeah.
I want them to know the incredible peace and the incredible joy that I've found in a relationship with Christ. And
That's awesome.
that was hard. Like and I was like how can I do this? And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go on the offense. I'm gonna go on the offense and do this. And I'll never forget. I actually consulted. I don't know if you know this or not. One of Steve's and my mutual friends, John Summer. He leads a ministry by the name of Reclaim Ministries. They're an outdoor men's ministry, and they're really awesome ministry. I sat down with him at a McDonald's one morning, and I was like, John, I got a really stupid question. What do you think about if I did a LAN party, but I was like, it's not a bait and switch, but it's like a Christian LAN party. What do you think about that? And he's like, Joe, you have to do that.
That sounds just like
John Summer way.
Yep.
And yeah, Joe, you have to do that. He's like, whatever I can do to help you, let me know. And I was like, okay.
I can even feel his eyes. I can feel his eyes
awesome.
piercing you probably when he was doing that too.
Right. Yeah, Joe, you have to do that. I was like, I guess I'm doing it then. Okay, all right.
That's awesome.
So, but we started Forge LAN 1, right? And I mean, even if you go to our website, you can scroll all the way backwards and look at some of the photographs from Forge LAN 1 when it was just called Forge LAN, and see some of the folks and just the interactions that we had there. It was just awesome. And some of the folks that are in that first Forge LAN 1 photo still come to our LANs today. So
that's great.
It's really very cool to sort of see that, right? But Forge LAN was just a LAN party, right? And I think when you came, we were still calling it Forge LAN at the time, Steve. It was like all we're doing is a LAN party. It's just like we come together, maybe once-ish a year since we've been doing it since 2011. And we're on LAN 20, so the math doesn't always add exactly up, but
yeah, I think it was LAN 5
we were
technically.
Still just calling it Forge LAN. So did you?
I think it was technically LAN 5.
Okay,
I remember.
You showed up around LAN 5.
I remember it being like we used to have like themes, so every LAN had a theme, and I remember Crash used to help like develop some of those themes. I still actually I have check this out. I keep this nearby. I keep this nearby. It's under a bunch of controllers apparently, but I still have this sealed.
Describe it for me. What is it?
Yeah, let me look at it. It's called Forge LAN 8. Okay, and so it's a mat.
Is it the badge?
It's a mouse mat. It's like not a desk mat like we normally have.
Pad.
It's a mouse pad, and it has Forge LAN 8, but it was called Forge LAN 8-bit. And so that was pretty cool. And
so just
like
the fact that it's a mouse pad,
yeah,
not a desk mat, all by itself,
and actually
speaks volumes about the time frame in which that was created.
Actually, this is hilarious. It shows how many were purchased on the back, and then on the top right it says high score 2016. So that's when we I think that was in 2016 then. The LAN 8. That's amazing. Anyway, yeah, wow. That's pretty cool.
We had we did I remember our 8th one was Forge LAN 8-bit. And that one was super fun. Like we had like a bunch of 8-bit themes and stuff like that were going on. But
this is what I'm talking about, Joe. This is it. Great. This is that one.
That's it, man. Oh, that's the one. I can't see it, and neither can our listeners. So like I was like, oh yeah. So that's the one, the 8-bit one. Okay, got it.
LAN 8-bit.
But in 2018 though, that was when we really made the switch over from just being, a group that does LAN parties. We said, all right, let's get serious here. Let's turn ourselves into an official not-for-profit organization, and let's do a little bit of rebranding so that we can basically address all walks of gamers' lives, not just video games, because we realize that we're leaving a lot on the table. There's some folks that, played video games and transitioned to tabletop gaming and sort of never looked back. There's some folks that do both of those. I'm one of those people. And there's and we were just like, man, how do we sort of go about saying we want to address all walks of gamers' lives, not just video games? And a LAN party felt fairly exclusive to video game focus. And we're like, okay, well, how do we do more? How do we do more and help, parents and, folks that go to church? And then how do we also be a successful outreach? And we sort of said, well, let's really talk about what it means to have play, compete, equip, and what that sort of means as our sort of our mantra of how we do ministry, right? So
yeah, that's awesome.
So that was born in 2018.